A bottle of corn oil can sit in a kitchen for months without earning a second thought. It looks plain, useful, almost invisible. But that is exactly what makes it interesting. Corn is not the kind of thing people look at and imagine turning into oil. It is dry, firm, starchy, and familiar. Even more surprising, the oil is not spread through the whole kernel. It is concentrated in a tiny part most people never notice. And yet from that hidden section comes a golden liquid used in frying, baking, dressings, and kitchens everywhere. So how does a hard corn kernel become this bottle of oil in the first place? What does the process involve? And once it gets there, is it as simple and healthy as it seems? To answer that, we have to start with the kernel itself. Let's get into it right here on Secrets of Simple Things. The oil lives in the smallest part that matters most. Corn oil is a vegetable oil, but that description barely explains what makes it interesting. It does not come evenly from the whole kernel. It comes mainly from the germ, the small, nutrient-rich part of the seed that would grow into a new plant. In other words, the oil begins in the part of the kernel most closely tied to life itself. That matters because the germ is only a tiny fraction of the whole. Most of the rest goes elsewhere, into cornmeal, animal feed, ethanol, and other products. The oil is hidden in the smallest section, not the largest one, and only about 3 to 4% of the kernel contains oil at all. So before corn oil becomes a familiar cooking ingredient, it already depends on scale. Producing even a modest amount means processing an enormous amount of corn. And because the oil is tucked away in such a small place, the story cannot begin by squeezing the whole kernel like fruit. It has to begin by taking the kernel apart. Before oil can be made, corn has to stop being corn. Before oil can be extracted, corn first has to stop being a single familiar thing. At the industrial level, a kernel is no longer treated as simple food. It becomes a structure made of different parts, each with its own value. That shift usually begins with wet milling. The corn is soaked in warm water and then ground so the kernel can be separated instead of merely crushed. The goal is not just to soften it, the real purpose is to pull the kernel apart into starch, fiber, germ, and other components, each one headed toward a different use. This is the crucial turn in the story. People do not simply squeeze oil out of corn the way they might press juice from fruit. First, they have to dismantle the kernel and isolate the one small section that actually holds the oil. Only when the germ has been separated does the next question begin to matter. Not where the oil is, but how to pull it out. Extracting the oil means choosing efficiency. Once the germ has been separated and dried, the task becomes extraction. There are two main ways to do it. The first is mechanical pressing, which uses force to squeeze oil out. The second is solvent extraction, which uses a substance such as hexane to dissolve the oil so it can be removed more completely. Both methods can work, but industry usually favors the second one. The reason is simple. When only a small percentage of the kernel contains oil in the first place, leaving too much behind becomes expensive. Solvent extraction recovers more of what is there and does so at a scale that makes commercial production more practical. That choice reveals something bigger than technique. Corn oil is not just the result of getting oil out of corn, it is also the result of choosing the most efficient way to recover as much value as possible from a very small source. But even after the oil has been pulled from the germ, it still is not ready for your kitchen. The oil has to be cleaned until it becomes usable. Even after extraction, what comes out is still crude oil, not the clear, mild liquid people recognize in a bottle on a store shelf. At this stage, it still carries impurities, waxes, pigments, and other elements that make it unsuitable for ordinary cooking. In other words, the oil has been removed, but it has not yet been shaped into a consumer product. That is why refining matters so much. First comes degumming, which removes phospholipids. Then comes neutralization, which takes out free fatty acids. After that, bleaching helps strip away unwanted color, and deodorizing with steam removes smells and flavors that would make the oil harsher and less flexible in the kitchen. What emerges from this sequence is not just cleaner oil, It is oil that has been standardized. It becomes clearer, milder, and more stable under high heat. That difference is the real transformation. The bottle in a supermarket is not crude corn oil in its original state. It is corn oil after industry has cleaned, adjusted, and stabilized it for modern use. How corn oil became a kitchen staple. Corn had been an important crop in the United States for generations before corn oil became a familiar household product. For a long time, its value was tied mainly to food, feed, and agriculture. But once producers recognized that the germ contained extractable oil, corn began to offer something more than grain alone. By the 1920s, companies were producing corn oil on a large scale and introducing it to consumers as a practical, affordable alternative to older cooking fats. That marketing mattered. Corn oil was presented as lighter, cleaner, and more modern than traditional fats like lard and butter. Its high smoke point made it especially useful for the kinds of cooking people actually did at home, while its mild flavor made it easy to fit into many dishes without taking over. Later, its cholesterol-free label made it even more appealing during the rise of low-cholesterol thinking in the 20th century. People did not embrace it only because of chemistry. They embraced it because it matched a larger cultural promise. Corn oil seemed to belong to the future, refined, efficient, and easy to use. Is corn oil healthy? That promise, however, does not make the health story simple. Corn oil does offer some real advantages. It contains no cholesterol. It is high in polyunsaturated fats, especially omega-6 linoleic acid. And when used in moderation, it can help lower LDL, the kind of cholesterol often called bad. It also provides vitamin E, an antioxidant that helps protect cells from damage. But those strengths come with trade-offs. Modern diets already tend to contain far more omega-6 than omega-3, and that imbalance matters over time. Corn oil also reaches the bottle only after heavy refining, which gives it stability and convenience but moves it further away from its original state. So the most honest answer is not that corn oil is simply healthy or unhealthy. It is that corn oil is useful in certain ways, limited in others, and more complicated than a label can capture. That complexity is part of what makes it such a modern product. Corn oil does not stay in the kitchen. And perhaps that complexity helps explain why corn oil never stayed only in the kitchen. In cooking, it works well for frying, sautéing, dressings, and mayonnaise because it handles heat well and keeps a neutral taste. But its role does not end there. Corn oil also appears in soap, paint, biodiesel, cosmetics, and skincare. It is not just a pantry ingredient. It is a flexible industrial material moving through food production, manufacturing, and consumer goods alike. In recent years, it has also faced stronger competition from other vegetable oils such as canola, sunflower, and soybean oil, which can offer similar uses and sometimes stronger nutritional reputations. And yet corn oil still holds its ground, especially in the United States, where corn remains abundant and deeply woven into the agricultural economy, as well as in global markets that use it for both cooking and manufacturing. A simple bottle in one kitchen is tied to a much larger network than it first appears. The 5-second rule for using corn oil. When you use corn oil, you do not need a complicated health debate. You need a fast rule you can apply in a few seconds without overthinking. Start with the job. Corn oil works best when heat is high, so think frying, sautéing, or pan-searing rather than treating it as the answer to every kind of cooking. Then check the oil itself. If reused oil looks darker than before, smells burnt, turns cloudy, or starts foaming in odd ways, that is your sign to stop. Finally, check the bigger pattern in your kitchen. Corn oil works well, but it should not be the only fat you rely on. Rotating it with other oils and fat sources makes everyday eating more balanced. That is it. 5 seconds. The right job, a quick look, a better habit, and once you use corn oil that way, it stops feeling like a default ingredient and starts feeling like a tool you understand. A simple bottle holds a whole chain of transformation behind it. Corn oil is not just oil from corn. It is the result of a chain of decisions. Someone had to identify the one small part of the kernel that held value. That part had to be separated, processed, and stripped down so the oil could be recovered as fully as possible. Then the oil had to be refined until it became stable, neutral, and reliable enough for kitchens, factories, and mass distribution. By the time it reaches a bottle, it carries agriculture, chemistry, industrial processing, consumer history, and the logic of efficiency all at once. That is what makes it more than a cooking ingredient. It is an ordinary object built by an invisible system. And once you see that, a bottle of corn oil stops looking simple at all. It starts looking like the modern world in liquid form, where familiar things are often the end point of far more machinery, knowledge, and coordination than they ever seem to contain. That alone makes it worth noticing again. If you enjoy looking at everyday things this way, subscribe to Secrets of Simple Things for more stories hiding inside the objects people usually overlook. And if there is another ordinary thing you want us to explore next, leave it in the comments. Your idea might become a future episode.